All right, everybody, welcome back to a first ever videocast here on the Push Podcast / YouTube channel. We have Mr. Tom CLUM Sr. on the mics with me. There he is. What's up, old man?
Hey, buddy. That Satori humbled me dearly, damn it. We can tell the story.
We take it for granted that we're 6-8 weeks away from our next hunting season.
We're always within 2 months of being able to hunt something.
Yeah. All right, we ready to pivot this? We want to talk about form.
But for most people, that release will cause problems within, honestly, it can happen within a day. And so in the old days, when I was your age, there were hardly any people my age shooting anymore because their shoulders were toast.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody, welcome back to a first ever videocast here on the Push Podcast / YouTube channel. As you can see, I have the solid Archery Mechanics logo up over here on my left shoulder, which means one thing. We have Mr. Tom CLUM Sr. on the mics with me. There he is. What's up, old man?
Hey, buddy. My butt off the shop, busy time of year, but it's getting ready to go elk hunting around here.
Heck yeah. So you are hopping. So tons of broadhead sales, I'm sure. Tons of people coming in and getting their bows fixed up. Is that about right?
Cutthroats are rolling out the door. And we got some last minute compound guys getting strings and cables at that last minute, all the normal stuff,
When does season come in there in Colorado?
So September 2nd.
September
I
2.
will be in the high country of Colorado.
Sweet. What tags do you have for this year?
I've got a good elk tag. I've got the tag I wanted. I've got a tag in Nebraska. I'll be hunting with my nephew, and hopefully I'll be hunting a little bit for whitetails in Wisconsin too. So Sweet. That's my main so far. Yeah. I've got a bear. If I shoot an elk, I'm gonna be sitting on that carcass, I guarantee.
Are you? That's such a like a foreign thing, like coming from Pennsylvania. The carcass means nothing really on our end. It's not like an opportunity for a predator. I mean, you could hunt coyotes if you're into that, but that's essentially it. Like to think you can fill another big game tag by reusing the carcass of an animal that you just killed is such a cool paradigm shift in thinking.
Baiting is not allowed. And I can't move that carcass, but I can sure set up on it. And they always find it. I mean, they find an elk carcass within a day. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, what are we doing here today, Tom? So I think we need to define that to the listeners. In your words, why don't you describe what we're doing here in this video cast and everything we got going on?
Okay, so Matt's gathered some videos of guys shooting for my review, and to see if there's things that I might suggest to help their shot, etc. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about hunting, our own setups, and the normal good old podcast stuff, of course. But I think at the end, the bulk of our time is going to be analyzing people's shots and seeing I'm particularly interested also in teaching stuff that will help everybody at different levels of their archery, because maybe some of the things we talk about will apply directly to them. So obviously that's important to me to kind of share the stuff I've been fortunate enough to learn. So we'll go off on a few, I'll chase a few rabbits down a hole and we'll have to reel in a couple times.
I'll have to put the CLUM brakes on every now and then, I'm sure.
I'm going to talk about Maddie. Maddie Mads came to visit me after ETAR and had a really nice time with her. She's a really neat young woman. Showed her the Colorado mountains and share with some of the stuff I saw through her eyes that were very interesting to me.
Love that.
It was a lot of fun with Maddie.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll do a standard podcast. So the flow here is just a standard podcast / videocast, like Tom said. Preseason prep. Let's talk about our rigs. We both have them here within arm's reach. We'll talk about that. Little ETAR review. And then we have 7 different video sets. So for the listeners, if you remember a while ago on social media, we did a campaign to post videos from 4 different orientations around your shot and use hashtag shoot solid. And that was a way for us to easily find these videos. And we're going to be basically hashing through this new software program that I have, building out these scenes. I'm going to be sharing my screen, sharing videos. So stick with us. It's going to be a little clunky here. This is our first time doing this, but we will get better at this. We do intend to continue to pump out more video content. And what we're going to do is we're going to review probably 2 of the 7 form videos for free. That's basically going to go onto our YouTube channel. And then the last 5 are going to be new modules that are going to be put into Solid Archer Mechanics. And also, we're going to be talking a little bit in depth about my shot progression and some really key things that have helped me a lot with some elbow issues that we have, specifically around the grip and how I was gripping the bow that Tom picked out at ETAR. And then also some things on the string side. So both contact points with the bow, we got some really cool nerdy stuff to talk about. That's going to be included in the modules that we'll be uploading to Solid Archer Mechanics. So before we get started, guys, if you have not enrolled in Solid Archer Mechanics, it's a one-time purchase, lifetime access to the course content, all future updates to the course content for free, which is what we're doing here today. So we're building out new content, new modules, and as soon as we upload that, the minute it goes live, if you're enrolled as a student, it's in your profile. So now's the time, guys. Let's start investing in our own skill sets here. Masterclass on biomechanics with Mr. Tom CLUM Sr. So thanks for being here, guys. And Tom, you ready to dive in?
I'm ready, buddy.
All right, let's go. So it was great seeing you. It was awesome seeing you at ETAR. Let's talk about our ETAR experience a little bit, man. So you flew in basically the day after Joel and I got back from NFA Field Nationals.
Probably my favorite year at ETAR.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so. I had my 11-year-old grandson Jameson with me. He's 10 last year.
Old J-Mo.
Damo, yeah, it's always such a joy to get a grandson to go with you on a big trip like this. And he talked about it for weeks, and his mom said he talked about it for a week after we got home. So
awesome.
I know he had a good time.
He's a cool kid, man, and he's a shooter too.
Yeah, he's a special boy. Well, of course, any granddad would say that about his grandson, but he's a hoot, man. What was really neat is the Kraus family was there, and they've got a daughter exactly his age and a younger one, and there's other kids around. Your kids were there, so we had buddies too. Because I get away at ETAR, we were doing some filming and doing some push stuff while we were there, and he had buddies to run around with, so it wasn't exactly dependent on just Papa to fill up his time. So that was really cool.
That was really cool. It was nice. I was laying in bed one night just getting ready to go to bed, and it was like 11:30 at night, and I hear all the kids just like going nuts over in one of the tents. So I sneak over there. It's nighttime. I sneak in, and there's Nori and Veda, which is my niece and nephew, and then my 2 boys, Holland and Wild, and then Greg's 2 girls, and then there's J-Mo, and J-Mo's pretending to be this old booger man with like a booger on his finger, and he's chasing everyone around. Everyone's screaming. They're having the time of their life. It's just so cool to see like that next generation coming up and taking on the ETAR tradition.
Yeah, because you see how good he is with adults, but he got to be a kid too and just
that's right.
goof off, be an 11-year-old boy. It was great.
Exactly. Yeah, that's amazing. Cool. And then your shot is coming along great, man. I mean, you're back, baby. I mean, Tom CLUM, your shot's looking better than it has in a long time. So I can tell you've been really putting some time into this, and gosh, it's just awesome to see.
I figured stuff out. So, we talk about, the normal target panic problems, and I've got a new angle on it. I talk about how we build a reflex with sensory input and things. So I've really figured out within the last year of kind of the stuff that I'm teaching, kind of implemented into my own shot, is ways to override that reflex to the aim. And we'll talk about that in real specifics for sure. But it was weird because I had only picked up a bow again during the last week and a half or 2 before ETAR because I hurt my shoulder 2.5 months previous, and I had to lay off the bow for 2 months. And so I slapped a pair of 35-pound limbs that were 37 on my riser, tuned up some, arrows to that setup, and that's what I shot at ETAR. I tried to match grain weight per pound, and so it had similar cast to my hunting rig, and so just this week, finally getting back to the hunting bow and putting some reps in, building an arrow count at my 48 pounds again for my hunting rig. So,
but isn't it amazing when you take like a severe poundage drop and how well you can work through your mental programming of your shot? I mean, it just like it's amazing. It's amazing how freeing it is to get that body out of that heavy tension of that higher poundage, and how you can just like systematically step through your shot process and just not miss a step. It's so nice.
Yeah. I'm going to shoot a lighter barebow rig this year, just for that reason, because I noticed that, fine motor control, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a trigger press right here. And so it requires a lot of fine motor control. And so when you're just a little bit, when you have a little bit too much weight, it interrupts that ability to slow it down to to that really slow speed and that
Yeah,
very minimal input to the bow that you really need to be, bare bow accurate. Or we're
sure.
shooting for gold circles like this, not a 10 ring like this on a 3D target. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, and that was
yeah,
another thing we talked about a lot while we were at ETAR was how indoor is going to play more of a role in your bow, like your archery seasonality, if you will. You're going to be really hitting it hard for indoor this season.
big time. Yeah, as soon as I, get done with elk season or killing elk, I'm pick up that bare bow, because I do plan on. There's a couple people coming to Lancaster that I've coached, and they want me to be there, and so I'm going to be there. I'm going to shoot. So
Hell yeah, I love that. Here we go. You heard it here first, baby. Tom CLUM on the line. I love it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. So then after ETAR, we did a ton of filming too. So we had our cameras rolling pretty much the entire ETAR. I was stuck in the booth. Josiah was kind of chained to your guys' hip all weekend long. You want to talk a little bit about what's to come with some of the filming that we did and we accomplished?
yeah, I basically, Josiah really filmed a full session with Matthew, and Matthew'd never had a lesson before. So,
Matthew Morris, right? From Boyer
yeah,
Podcast. Yeah.
so we got a lot of film with Matthew, because there's a lot to go over. Matthew's just taught himself to shoot basically like most all of us did, and he'd done a hell of a job doing that. He shot really well, but I was able to put an archery shot into a more defined framework. Uh, Increased his draw length about 2 inches. We got him into a much better alignment. So there's some
And he's
big
already a
nuts
big
there.
boy.
Um, yeah, he's a big, strong, strapping
Yeah.
fella. I mean, and a really neat guy, a really, really great man. So, anyways, that was really fun. So there's a lot that went into that film that was really neat. And then also we filmed Logan Krause, Greg's wife, who Greg had done a heck of a job coaching. I mean, she's terrific,
Oh yeah, she
but
has an awesome shot.
yeah, had an awesome shot, and she just didn't have that final back tension component. She would execute in a linear fashion like this, which is very potentially dangerous to your shoulder, slamming into that end of range of movement, a shoulder pull. And Greg was like, I wasn't quite sure how to express that finish. And so she was easy. We just had her get her,
Yeah,
so
I might have lost you a little bit on the final couple points there. I'm trying to shoot you a text here that you're breaking up on my end. I don't know if it's
yeah,
staying rolling on. We're just going to roll through it. It's fine. So for the listeners on the podcast side, if that audio got crackly, apologize there. And then also on the YouTube side, if you're watching this stream, if Tom is kind of getting broken up a little bit, we're still working through the technology here on the back end. So. But overall, yeah, you had good sessions. We filmed everything with Matthew Morris and Logan Krause, and those will become modules as well that will be going into Solid Archery Mechanics. So again, guys, enroll in Solid Archery Mechanics, one-time purchase, lifetime access, and you get all these additional modules for free, which is awesome. Tom, let's talk about your hunting bow, dude. Show it to me. I want to see it.
okay, let me grab it. It's right behind me. I don't want to knock my. So,
I'm gonna make you large screen here. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's a whole lot of Tom CLUM right there.
yeah, buddy. So, of course, the P2P, right? The ILF collaboration I did with South Cox. So, South Cox, Stalker Stickbow, made this bow for me. And this is basically what a stock, P2P riser would look like.
So the value proposition here is you wanted to come out with a heavy mass weight,
Yeah,
solid, good grip ILF wood bow.
correct. I wanted more affordable ILF hunting riser, and I had ideas in my head. And when I approached South on this project, he had some production time available for me, so we worked out the details, and he pulled it off like amazingly well. It was many months in the making, because there was little modifications we were doing along the way. But what I did was I wanted a sizable G10 I beam with the wood sides, and kind of remember the look of the bears with that dark.
Mm,
They'd have I can't, dark wingy or some dark wood. I don't know what bear used, but they would have those slabs on the side. And then when you're grinding the grip and the shape of the bow, it all just rolls in and out and it just looks great,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
wanted I wanted some weight. I wanted a sniper rifle. I wanted balance there, so there's a lot of G10 on the bottom of that thing. Doesn't rock back and hit me in the bill of my hat like every other recurve I've ever had. So it's got very more similar to barebow balance, so to speak. And there was a very, very specific features on the grip that I wanted.
Let me see
I
it. Show
want
me.
I wanted a very defined left side for a right-handed shooter that I could match up exactly to my lifeline and get grip exactly repeatable every time.
Can you
Um,
show us the grip? Can you close up
yeah,
that grip?
I covered up a bit because I kind of
Hmm.
rigged a grip trigger under a saddle, and so I've got this grip trigger right here.
Oh yeah.
You can hear it click.
Yeah, we can.
So I lost a little bit of that defined edge, but I can do fine. In fact, I may trim it off to redefine that edge a little bit on this side.
And so you just took the solid grip trigger and then put a piece of just leather on there with some contact cement, and then
Yeah, I actually got the small fixtures, the small metal fixtures. The 4-footed one, small.
yep.
A little piece of leather down, and I stacked two of them together and glued the little legs together and put it on that. And then right over that, I put barges rubber cement everywhere on the leather except for this circle here. And then the whole thing barges down.
Awesome.
Uh, and so it was kind of a custom grip trigger. In fact, I set one up for a guy at ETAR.
Oh,
I
you
brought
did?
the with me. Yeah, it's something we want to look at putting a kit together for a custom setup like this.
That's cool.
So for the people who know exactly where that button needs to be, it's a tremendous uh, way to go because it's impervious to high heat weather. High heat will break glues down, not barges rubber cement.
Right.
Uh, in the fixtures more simple and very defined. So I had actually put the felt pad on top of those little fixtures and then glued the leather over it.
Cool.
And the double stack on a 48-pound bow, it takes a lot of pressure to make it pop. And you saw that at ETAR I had those 37-pound limbs, and so I ripped this thing off and got one fixture in there so that it would pop on 37 pounds. But I don't think I made it pop 3 times all weekend
Oh,
because I didn't need to.
yeah, yeah.
My mind, I was able to override the reflex to shoot on the aim, and talk myself through most of those shots. So, but I rarely make this one pop, but it's my security blanket. It's my
Mhm.
binky. If I'm freaked out,
That's my binky.
binky. If I'm freaked out, I'm going to make that thing pop before that to make that release happen. You know what I mean? Because I am I built a reflex to the aim for over 2 decades.
Yeah.
And so that's a very, very heavily imprinted neural link in my brain. And what I'm talking about is your brain will always link. If you have a sensory input, something you see, hear, or feel, and follow that input with a physical action, your brain will link those actions together. And so that happens to most archers because we were never taught appropriately
Oh,
to
100%.
separate our consciousness from the aim. In other words, let the subconscious and you build a reflex to aim too. And so we never learn to consciously separate from the aim and let the subconscious handle it because it'll do it better than you can consciously. And then put our focus on the tension on the string through back tension directed to a follow through, which creates another reflex to a subconscious release. And therefore, if we have a subconscious release, our brain doesn't know exactly when the bow's going off, so it won't contract a muscle to brace for it. So,
God, I missed you on the podcast, buddy.
so talking about the mechanisms, and
Yeah.
it honestly, it's not that I get credit. I've been around the correct experts to figure this whole how it all works together out. I had the right people, in my life that were experts in their given fields to, first of all, understand the basic expansion to follow through thing and little tips along the way, like Kissy Glee having us take our finger out of the loops and pinch the separator and then shoot the shot without dropping the tab, which is counterintuitive as all get out to get rid of
Sure.
a sticky release. We were stiffening the hook. And then I asked the right question to my buddy Matt Bernier, like, what is the mechanism of subconscious, which he explained. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole for you. But and then I could put how we teach that, how we put that into an archery shot. And then I learned, mostly from studying the trauma world and how people override reflexive behaviors that they don't want. Well, the shot is a behavior, so to speak, but it
Sure.
really is. We learn the stuff that comes from the counseling world and how to override reflexes. And Joel was on it 15 years ago with self-instructive talk. But then we have to place it in a triggerless shot with an actual override of a reflex. That's was the missing component
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then how do we develop that? So over these last 2 years, I've you know really refined my coaching method for triggerless shooting based on some of these different angles into it than Joel had done before. So for triggerless, I've got some really unique stuff that nobody else in the country is teaching, which I want to get it out there so lots
Sure.
more people are teaching it and more people are being successful for it.
Yeah,
But
what I think what we'll do is we'll talk through a little bit more specifics. We'll go down the rabbit hole a little bit deeper when we're talking about the trigger press and the implementation on how I'm implementing it here later in the show. That
yeah,
sound like a plan?
because shooting a firearm, the shot comes down to a trigger press.
Yeah, sure.
Comes down to squeezing that trigger so slowly the gun goes off surprise.
Mm,
If shooting a compound bow, whatever way you're manipulating that trigger to get it break a surprise, the shot comes down to that. Because if you
yep.
speed up the movement, you're going to know when the bow's going out. Your brain's going to, and it's going to add a muscle contraction. So when we talk about this right here in this movement through the string, we're talking about a trigger press still.
Sure.
So I term it that way. So, anyways, that's kind of the little
That
rabbit hole.
yeah, rabbit hole off the
I
equipment.
like that,
You
but I'll stop right there,
you
buddy.
bailed on your equipment.
Yeah,
Your poor bow. Your poor bow's just sitting there like, finish talking about me.
right. Yes, there's Tom. Wait, go down a rabbit hole. Start that. Sees a rabbit, squirrel, and he's going to chase it.
Away we go.
Okay, one fish on a boat. I do have one of these little dudes. If somebody asks me what's the best under $10 thing you can have
For
that
the
holds
listeners,
the
he's
arrow.
talking to holding the arrow on the string and on the shelf.
Yeah, yeah. So when you're, let's see if I can get a camera view on this.
Hang on. Hang on.
Get an
I'm
arrow
I'm
knocked.
turning you large screen.
How we doing so far? All right. So then we fold this little thing, this little dude
Yep.
right here around the back of the riser and clip it onto your arrow. So we get some different views of that baby.
Yep. You're running a bare weather rest up there.
Yep, and I'll get to that in a minute. And then when you just start to pull the string, that thing flips off.
Simple.
Simple. That's the best $10 item you can add to your setup. I'm shooting a Victory VS TKO. It's a 5/16 shaft, like standard diameter, extremely tough arrow, toughest one I've shot in a long time. I've got 100. I've got a 50 grain brass insert and 200 heads because I shoot 200 cutthroats, either 3 or the 2 blade. That's my arrow setup. I do run a bare weather rest. Now I can tune off the shelf really well, and I can get awesome flight. And I've always been off the shelf shooter, but because I'm an elk hunter, and many times I'm in the backcountry, and we get a couple days of rain, and your feathers are flat to the shaft, you're kind of out of business. So I do go ahead and fletch some trad vanes, which will shoot off the shelf well, honestly. But I see a little bump, and I don't like a little bump.
No one likes a little bump.
I want to see a laser beam. I want to see a spinning arrow right to the target.
Yeah.
So I do always, at elk hunting, I always do throw 2 of my arrows in there with trad vanes on them. And you do have to orient the vanes just right to come off clean off of like a bare weather rest or a springy. But they're always in my quiver. So that's my basic setup. And I'm going to have a cutthroat single bevel, uh, 2 blade for elk and moose if I get a moose tag. And I'm going to have a cutthroat 3 blade, 200 grainer on there if I'm hunting deer or smaller stuff.
Heck yeah.
So that's my setup, brother.
And the limbs are which level Ukas?
So I've got, yeah, thank you. I've got the Yucca Mazzoli limbs. There's a second one up the line. They make a Yangi, which is a 70 carbon 30 glass combo, which is terrific. It's an
And you're saying
upgrade to
70% carbon, 30% glass.
correct.
Yep.
The next one up the line is this one. It is a 90% carbon, 30% glass.
90-10.
Pardon me?
90-10.
90-10.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you said 90-30.
Got an Alton. On our channel, we've got the review I did. We filmed reviewing all the new limbs against the old Salinga at the same weight. The Salinga was an 80-20. And we went to the Yangi, the 70-30s, with the new U5 limb design from Yuka. Bumped me 4 feet a second. I went to the Mazzoli, got another 4 feet a second. So holding the same weight as I did last year, I've got 8 feet or 8 or 9 feet a second.
Wow, that's significant.
I'm short and old and I don't shoot that heavy a bow. 8 feet, 9 feet, a lot. I'll take it. Absolutely. The all-time, I gained a foot.
That's the most expensive one, right? That's the 100%.
That's one, and I'm sure there's more lateral stability because it's 100%. It's unilateral carbon, so I'm sure there's a benefit in limb stability and stuff there, but it wasn't a benefit for speed. It was virtually unmeasurable. It's not the one I recommend. So, but that Yangi is a terrific limb. That's what I was shooting at ETAR in that 35-pound set. It's a terrific fast limb. The U5 limb compared to the old S-curve limbs, also they flatten out the draw curve. We put these on the scale, and from 27 to 32, it was like 2.5 pounds. 2.5 pounds, 2.5 pounds, 2.5. From 27 to 32, it was 2.5 pounds an inch. Extremely smooth and flat draw curve, which I really appreciate. If I shoot anything else, it feels like I get a stack. They're awesome limbs. So they've really corrected and improved stuff from S-curve. Haven't had any warranties yet. When the S-curves came out, we had a ton of warranties. So it's our recommended limb right now, particularly for a hunting limb.
You said you got no warranties?
I haven't had a warranty yet. Yeah.
That's awesome.
By this time with the S5, we had 3 or 5. You know what I mean? So many during the course of the life of those. That first year, they had a problem with that. Now credit back to them. They replaced all those limbs.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
There's been many famous bow companies that I won't even mention, but they had some glitch in their production process in the ones of integrity. Stuff happens, and they replaced every set of limbs. And there's a couple widely known companies that really it cost them a ton of money, but they stood behind their product. I'm real proud of them.
That's awesome.
So you did do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
because they moved their manufacturing, right? They were originally, I think, in France, and then they moved it to Korea, and then now it's back to France again. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate. They moved it all back to France. I think that they probably had quality control issues by moving it.
Yep, I agree.
The carbon is a different weave too than it was, and so whatever weave they're using seems to be absolutely terrific. And they use the same weave in all 3 limbs. They did not before on the S-curves. So the 70-30, the 90-10s, and the 100% carbon limbs are all using the same carbon.
Yeah, so, I love the Ukas. That's what I'm currently running. I'm going to lean back here and grab a bow off the rack. But for the last couple of years, I've been running these Uka VX Plus limbs on my HT21 riser, or basically any ILF hunting riser I'm using. Right now, I'm running a 21-inch Satori at the moment with a elevated springy rest. This camera's going nuts following it around. It's going to show I'm not wearing any underwear or something.
Satori cost me dearly. That Satori humbled me dearly. Damn it! We can tell the story.
Go ahead. I'll let you tell it.
All right. So we're at Matt's house, and he pulls out this Satori. Right. He just got back from his competition shooting bear bows, and in my backyard, I had worked out with a split finger tab that I could be point on at 60 yards. And I did it once. It's not like I even worked out my shots. So we're shooting in the backyard with Turner and your dad, and we're having a lot of fun, and JMO and Jameson. So we're shooting for a while, and you're like, oh, you just pick up that Satori, huh, Matt? So he's got this challenge, for a key ring that says Matt.
Yeah, everyone knows. Yeah, so for the listeners, just to make sure. Oh, look at this. Look at this, Tom. That whole bag of them right here.
Yeah, he's still, yeah. Damn it. I
This
wish
is
I had
this
one.
this is something that Tom doesn't have. Spoiler alert! But check that thing out.
Not.
Woo! I beat Zarnzak. He sucks. Keychain challenge. So anyhow, let me
So
set the
anyway,
stage
I
real
was
quick
like, oh,
before you go.
I
Hold
got a
on.
chance to. Okay, go ahead.
Hold on one sec. Yeah. So for the listeners, just to set the stage, you've probably seen the Maddie keychain challenge on our YouTube channel already. We have the Joel Turner keychain challenge video coming out, and then there's 4 other ones that are in the hopper. So basically, if you see me and I have cameras with me, my GoPros, challenge me. I always have some of these keychains in my alpha pack, and here's the caveat: we come up with what the challenge is, we both agree upon it, and it has to be videoed, and no matter what happens, it gets published. So it doesn't matter how bad you shoot or how bad I shoot, it's going out to the masses, and I think that's a fun way to add some pressure. So go ahead, Tom, continue your story.
Yeah, dang it. So I got a chance to get a leg up on Matt here, right? He's just picked up this Satori, so I lay out the challenge. I say, "Hey, Matt, one shot challenge here." I said, one shot at 60 yards. And I'd made all of one shot at 60 yards with my bow and was way overconfident of my ability to at least hit close. And I figured he's got a new bow. He's not going to know, yada, yada. And this thing is, with those heavy arrows, was not a particularly fast bow, man.
No, it's like shooting a 680 grain arrow at 41 pounds at my draw length. So it's not blazing.
Yeah. And, well, let's just set this up on a long shot. So I ask him for this shot. And he goes, "You go first." And whatever I did the one time in my yard where I hit a 10 on an elk did not happen again. And maybe nerves. Maybe I punched out on the shot, whatever. But I hit the frame of this target. There's a Wolverine down there?
Yeah, little badger in front of a hay bale.
A hay bale, and it's got a wood frame around it. And I hit the freaking frame way up into the left of the badger at 60. I mean, it's an embarrassing shot. I'm like, well, okay, Matt, he's just got into the Satori, and this thing's, could throw an arrow faster than this thing can shoot it. I'll be okay. And he's whispering over there with Joel, and I'm like, he's strategizing with his coach. So I'm like, hey, Matt pulls up, and that arrow goes about 17 feet in the air and comes down right over the 10 and the 8 ring of that badger. Like this awesome freaking shot from 60 yards, cold 60-yard shot.
Yeah.
With this 600 grain arrow that's, got
Oh, yeah. It's going to the stratosphere.
It's going to the stratosphere and comes back right in. So, everybody needs to be humbled once in a while, and a man should know his limitations. I learned that from Clint Eastwood a long time ago. But I lost the challenge in one of the most humiliating ways that I could have.
That was really funny.
I was the one that was gamed after all, and you can see that part of it.
Yeah, the very end was so funny because we walked down to the target and we're like showing our different arrows and stuff. And Tom has a confession. He's like, "I have a confession to make. I was in my yard and I found my 60 yard and I was hoping to catch you on this one." And then we were like, "We have a confession to make too. We found all of our marks out to 60 yards yesterday." So I actually, before I shot my shot, like I think Josiah got some footage. You're at full draw, and I'm whispering to Joel behind you, like, "Hey, do you remember what my mark was? Was it up against the knock with the shelf on the target?" Like we're trying to figure out what my monumenting aiming method was, and oh, that was so funny.
That was funny. So karma bit me, but as being the sufferer of the other end of that, I can't admit that's just all funny as all get out. And you made one hell of a 60-yard shot, man.
Yeah, that was any with that heavy arrow. It's like if you give it a 95% of the shot, it ain't going. It's in the dirt.
Aiming air. So kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Days.
Do you know I've been challenged? I think I'm at 6 now. I've had 6 people, and I've only lost to one person, Mr. Turner.
Just 5-1, nice.
So
and that's bad guy to lose to.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right. What else do we have on our list here? We talked. Oh, then you had Maddie go back with you. We kind of talked about that a little bit. How was that trip taking Maddie? So just for the listeners, on Sunday when ETAR wrapped up, Maddie, Tom, Jameson, Joel, Josiah all came back to our hometown in Western PA. We got to do some shooting that night, and then the next morning there were early flights out, and Maddie went to Colorado with you to spend basically another week.
Yeah. Um, the only thing I didn't get done was a overnight backpack. I wanted my daughter-in-law and Danny to take her up. They'd all pitch their own tents, and I thought, good appropriate way to do it. I wanted her to be exposed to
Mm-hmm.
a young woman who's a badass archer and badass hunter, a badass shooter like her too, with Ashley. But Ashley, unfortunately, had to be called away to take care of her dad. Had some health problems, so
Mm.
she had to fly to the state. So we didn't get that done. But I did get, a couple of good hikes, or one really good hike. We did about a 6 mile loop right through where I would look for moose and elk, and it was a really enjoyable thing. I got to see some things through her eyes that showed us Americans how much we take things for granted. She mentioned this on her Instagram post, but we're sitting there and we had just snuck through. Weird, the whole forest was quiet. I mean, the birds weren't really chirping much. There weren't any pine squirrels chittering. It was a very quiet environment, and we're sitting there. And she says, "This is amazing." She'd do this and look around. She said, "This is incredible." And then she said, "I've never heard silence before."
Mm.
She comes from London. There's
Sure.
always city noise. And she was just, "This is amazing." And how cool to get to watch her have that experience.
Right.
It wasn't me, right? And I loved her love for it all. We're kind of stepping through woods. I'm showing her elk rubs. I'm talking about feeding bedding patterns, and I'm just talking about these game animals that we hunt commonly, and she's soaking it all in. And she just stop and see a beautiful scene, and we'll get some pictures and pictures of her, and we'd stop at a creek, and the noise of the rushing water, she just had to sit and listen to that, stand and listen to it for a little bit. And so watching the joy in her of the wilderness to her was a joyous thing for me. And so, we shot 22s. We were going to shoot other guns, but we kind of prioritized the hikes. But I got a couple 22s, and I have a lever action Henry, right? And of course, that's classic Western to
Oh
her.
yeah.
She went semi-automatic with the scope. She's a really good shooter. We were picking up rocks about this big, at 75 yards, and she's just boom, and she's
That's awesome.
and then bust the rock to pieces. At 75 freehand. Not on a rest. She runs a trigger.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can tell she's porting over everything she learned with her archery shot.
Yeah, yeah. She credits the Shot IQ course for her ability to shoot firearms well. Um, but we burned a few boxes of 22s. That's all we kind of had time for, and then I wanted to take her up and hike into this big high bowl above timberline that's behind a lake. So right up to this lake, which had a magnificent view. But we kind of started around that lake, and it was 42 degrees up there at that
Wow.
moment, and the wind was probably 30 to 40 miles an hour blowing from the western face. And I looked up above those mountains, and the sky is purple. Those clouds are full of water, and I'm like, "Maddie, it's 42 degrees. We have one layer of jacket on. If we get soaked out at 42 degrees with this wind, it's not going to be good." And so I got to call this off. And so we glassed. I finally found a couple elk, which looked like about an ant,
Yeah.
to a mile. And then she got the hang of it. She knew what to look for then, and she spotted elk that I didn't, which was cool. So that was a good, cool experience for
Yeah.
her learning to glass. So we got elk. We did find elk, we didn't on our hikes, but it delayed the other hike in the heart of our elk country that because I wanted a no doubt go to spot. I was going to get it, and we would have been in there if it weren't for the weather. But she saw moose, so we're looking for moose all over. We're right around the corner from our mountain house, not a mile from our turn a corner, and there's two cows and a really young dripping aspen leaves off the aspens, and we got a good look in
Cool.
the binoculars. So the two game animals, or the ones you want to see was moose, and the size of them and how they move around. So
That's
we
so
got to see.
sweet.
So getting to see things through her eyes for me was really fun, and a lot of things we take for granted that were really special to her was really nice to see.
That's probably my biggest takeaway from working with her on this film project that we're doing and stuff, and going over there and seeing her in her own environment and talking through like what she has to deal with and the, you know, the culture and society she's growing up in versus when she comes here for ETAR or goes, you know, with you to Colorado. Like just the awe and wonderment is just like, it makes me appreciate everything we have so much more. Like we just take it for granted. Like we take it for granted that we're 6-8 weeks away for our next hunting season. You know,
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, it's time to put in for tags. Oh, what a bother. Gotta buy my tags again. It's just like, we're so
we're
lucky.
always, we're always within 2 months of being able to hunt something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also took her on a ride over Trail Ridge Road. It's the highest paved highway in the country,
Oh, cool.
right over the Continental Divide. It was a cloudy, misty day, rainy day, so we didn't get to see some of the spectacular views up there, but that was really enjoyable. Went over the other side and came up a whole different mountain range and over another pass that you have to drive over. So she got to see
Sweet.
a lot more of Colorado and the Colorado mountain towns. We went by a couple ski areas to see what that was like. So
Love it.
yeah, I got a chance to show her Colorado, at least a
Cool.
snapshot in a few days.
Dude, so
That was,
good.
yeah,
And now she's back in the UK, you know,
yeah,
just kind of not having the great time that she was having here in the States, but she will be back soon. She'll be back here in September, early October. So
I'm
get her,
excited for
get
her.
her off full draw on a whitetail, right?
Absolutely.
All right. We ready to pivot this? We want to talk about form.
Okay,
All
let's
right.
do it.
So, Tom, I'm going to go ahead and move to a share screen scene here on the video cast. We're not going to play the video the whole way through. Like, we'll just let it play. And why don't you just point things out as we go? That way we don't have like, however long the video is of dead space, but we'll just like play it. It's basically going to review each position multiple times. I have it replaying, and then it'll move to the back position, and then and so on around the archer. So,
Okay, I'm going to point out things I like,
okay,
and then I'll kind of follow up with what I think could be improved.
love it.
So as we're going first, I'll just going to point out the things I like.
Cool. All right. I'm going to bring this up right now. How's that scene? Can we see it? Oh, yeah. Here we go, baby. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So
good view of that.
let's go ahead and play this. Thank you, Hunter Albea. Instagram hunt_Albea. Thanks for submitting your video here. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you
Those
liking about
things
his shot?
I kind of like how he sets his front shoulder, but it does rise in the end, so he could do a little better job of that. But his shoulders are fairly low and level as he
Right.
executes.
Oh, right
finish.
there. That's what you're talking about. That little micro raise.
Yep.
Let's pull
So
this. Let's
underneath
pull this
the
back.
yeah, and
Right,
it's
right
the,
there. Yep. So
so
everyone that's watching this, watch his front shoulder here. He comes into anchor, it sets, and then there is a slight rise. I deal with this. I struggle with this as well. A little rise in my bow shoulder as I'm coming to full draw. Right. So here, full draw. It's so minor. Let's go back again and watch it one more time.
okay.
And there, you can see it scrunch up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This is nitpicky stuff, right? Like this is.
Yeah, because Hunter's got a pretty decent shot. I
Yeah.
mean, um, so I was talking about things I like, but I had to follow it up because he did he kind of presets that front arm, but he doesn't finish it with what we call a precoil. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the correction or improvement to be done with
Okay.
that. So let's this front shoulder.
You want to go
Real
back
cool.
to the front shoulder view again?
Yeah, because we're going to finish this up. So, when I said I like the fact that when he is here, let's see, which way do I have to go? I got to go this way. So when Hunter's here, I see him kind of set that shoulder up, right?
Yep.
Pre-draw. I'm going to need a different angle. I'm going to need to get this lower. So anyway, he comes up here, but what he needs to do, he needs to fully engage the muscles that depress that shoulder blade and shoulder,
Okay.
right? So I'm going to tilt my camera up and see if I can get a standing view, maybe I'm looking for a view to see this.
We're going to see that you're not wearing underwear either.
I thought of that as doing as a joke to you.
That would have been awesome.
In the preview, I actually thought of doing that. Like,
That's dangerous with me because if I click record right away, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you did good though. You did capture a view of me once that you haven't used. So thank
I
you.
I have it. I actually came across it like 2 weeks ago, and I almost sent it to you
Yeah,
just as a reminder. I have this against you.
okay. We might tell that story someday because it is kind of funny. All right, so let's get this view we want. Oh,
Okay.
all right. Yeah, we kind of have good camera action. Here we go.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm gonna set this shoulder down, and in the movement I'm talking about is just coiling sideways of the target a little bit like this, pressing that shoulder down.
Yep.
You see that? That's kind of got to engage my lats. That twisting motion is going to load up these lats here, right? And from I like to, you can do it here and just keep the rotation going as you raise, or I like to be a little more efficient. So right here from this position, I'll set that shoulder down,
Yep.
do that little pre-coil, and then come right into my business right there.
Mm.
See if I'll try it on a different angle and tip my camera down. Maybe if I'm towards the target, let me slide my camera back. See if I can get an angle. But this is really important. There's so many people that have issues with front shoulder stuff. So this is a pretty
People listening to this in their earbuds are like, "What is going on?"
Oh yeah, I apologize.
It's fine. It is. It is what it is.
Force angle. Let's set that shoulder down. I'll
Yep.
do it up here
Okay.
and do this little pre-coil. I'll set it down,
Yep.
push, do this little pre-coil. Now that my lat's set in there. I'm set in the depression.
Yeah, you can see it really good in this angle.
Coil and come into my draw. It just stays right there because the coiling motion itself really locks into those lats or those tie-ins for what depresses your shoulder.
I like that.
All right.
Very
So
cool.
so Hunter, you need a little better preset. We need to load up those shoulder depressing muscles right here
Yep.
with that little press to the side. And you gotta once you get that rotation up here, set it down, push forward, start that rotation. You'll feel it right there, I promise you, and just roll right into your position. It should be well locked down at that time.
Love that.
But that's what we're looking for is an improvement to Hunter. Now, what I do like,
there's nothing in his torso. There's no shifting. There's no like rotation into the target.
yeah, we need to consciously depress that and
Yep. I
rotate
love
it.
that.
We need to lock that baby down. Now, one thing I will say that if a person's overbowed, and I don't think so, he's a pretty strapping looking young man. If a person is overbowed, though, that is one of the weak links. Is this shoulder will rise because you literally may not have the strength to do that. But he doesn't look like he's a candidate for that unless that's a 65-pound bow.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
All right. He looks like he's got really good control over that weight. So the other thing, we go ahead and do another view now.
Yep.
And so the alignment of everything from this view looks really good. That form and the arrow are together. Some people can have a bit of a high elbow. Now watch how his shoulder moves to draw the bow. He is moving the shoulder ahead of the movement, so he's moving his back muscles to draw the bow. That's fantastic. So he's moving the shoulder ahead of the movement.
His elbow looks like it's left of string from this angle.
Yeah, we're gonna go over that.
Okay, go for it.
So right at the start, he's right through his anchor. He's using that back, so he's starting in his back, and he starts with a low wrist. But by the time he comes back here, the wrist straightens out fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
Wrist is really important because if you have an inward bending wrist, the elbow has to go out, and you're going to lose alignment and strength. The bicep is what's supporting that low wrist, and we don't want that to support the hold. We want the back muscles to fully support the holding position. So we want a straight or virtually we actually prefer a slightly outward bending wrist. If you were to pick up a bucket by the wire right here, you'll always see that your wrist has a slight outward bend. And we do that in the shop a lot to show a person's their strongest position. So I'll have them pick up a bucket and not even look at their hook, but they'll have an archery hook on the bucket. And then, okay, buddy, you got to stand there for an hour. How would your wrist be? So wiggle it around, and they always land about right here.
Yep.
And I'll have them look down and look at the amount of bend wrist. That's the strongest position for your hook to a string too, obviously.
Sure.
So we're just going to bring it up here, and we're going to produce that same angle because that's your strongest position. But that outward bending wrist also pushes the elbow back behind and behind
Mm-hmm.
the string, even inside the string, if you've got the shoulder mobility for that. So that wrist angle is a big deal because when the wrist angle bends in, the elbow goes out. When you now look, so think of that on an overhead view,
Sure.
you know, and a lot of things, like a lot of times I'll demonstrate. So we're into our back, right into depression. If I push this wrist in, the
Oh
elbow
yeah,
goes
right. That's
right. So what I'll have when I do this, exactly what I did right now, I'll have somebody stand, so their heads to the side so they can see the angle of the elbow. But I'll have them put their left finger right on the tip of my shoulder blade. And as I do this, they'll not only see the elbow go out, but they'll feel the scapula move away.
Move away from the spine.
We lost back engagement. So some of that stress from the compressive load went from the back muscles to back to the shoulder.
This is great
And
stuff.
alignment, and so then we don't have the mental calmness that we derive from
Sure.
alignment. We don't have that perfectly repeatable position or access to that perfect linear movement to your follow through. So it's a cascading thing for everything. So I think Hunter could find a little bit improvement there.
Okay.
Pretty dang good though where it's at, but it's slightly inward bending. So if you look at his alignment, that elbow's outside of the string.
Yep.
So I'll notice in Hunter's shot. So I like the way he's doing that. I like the way that elbow slashes. Go ahead and let the finish happen.
Yep. You want me to just go
Yeah,
a couple frame by frame?
Yeah. Boom. You see how that elbow slashes? So that's a healthy follow through.
Because you want that elbow to move at a 45-degree angle down and back,
Yeah, I'm
right?
moving downwards some because what that does, if they get a high rotation where it comes straight around the corner, that started from a high shoulder blade, a shoulder blade that's not depressed all the way. And so that upper arm bone is under a bone. It's the subacromial space. So we don't get the impingement that we do from this. What we get is more of this
Ah,
instead of this staying under that gap. So I get into this because I'll, instead of just raising back and up into my, so I'll come in to load this all down, I end up with a little bit of a low elbow, I'll swing it back and up, boom, and then straight into my back and then straight through the follow through. Sometimes I'll come in here with a low elbow and I'll lift it straight up, which is going to have my scapula move up. And then the result is a high rotation.
hmm.
And so I have potential for this. And I don't, I can remember a couple times the shoulder get a little sore just from that little rub probably. So when I see people film me, it's a real weakness for me. Like once in a while I'll see a film myself and I'll have that high rotation. Then I'll just make sure that I raise this up and back and then set it straight back. Make sure that shoulder's depressed. And then I'm going to get the slashing elbow linear hand like I
Gotcha.
want. So I like Hunter's follow through. His hand stays linear. He's got the slashing elbow. So he's got the back tension component of this shot. And look at his finish positions. Beautiful. Beautiful finish position. But what he's missing for better alignment is the most important movement in building or holding position, which is transfer to holding.
Yeah, right. You can see there's just a little. He can get some more over here.
Just comes to anchor and stops. So he's still holding a ton of the weight of that bow in his shoulder. He's
Yeah, right
strong
here.
enough, really steady there, but he's missing some draw length.
So you'd like to see this shoulder blade line coming down a little bit more towards that spine right here,
To
right?
where it ends, right? So
Yeah.
you have a good view here of this, Matt.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Let me click back over to you. There we go. We're getting the hang of this, Tom. Like we feel like old pros here, huh?
So let me get down. I'll put my knees on the floor so I get a good camera angle. So I'll come into here and just using my back, I'm going to come into here. I'm leaving myself short. I'm missing that most important movement. Is the elbow slightly outside of
Yep.
where the
Slightly
strength is?
outside. Yep.
So we want to come into anchor like he's doing, and then we want transfer to hold. We want to press that shoulder back. We want to finish rotating that
Yep.
scapula into the spine and finish that position. Now that elbow is going to be behind or inside that string, much stronger position.
Yeah. That was a good view. Your elbow position moved by 2.5 inches.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think that's what Hunter's leaving out of his shot.
Yeah, I think so too. You could just tell his scapula is not fully engaged, and
No,
there's a little bit of a shoulder pull happening here to finish the shot, just a touch.
just a touch.
Yeah.
Right. So once Hunter adds that into his shot, he's going to build a stronger position. Now,
Yep.
here again, weight of the bow will prevent that position. Sometimes you got all kinds of shoulder strength to get it to here, but you don't have the strength in those back muscles that retract your scapula to get it to here.
Yeah. I just
So
saw
boy,
something. Go ahead.
if that in that, I'm not saying that because Hunter looks like a pretty strong young fella, but he's leaving an important movement into a better position out of his shot right now.
Yeah, watch how when he comes to full draw, you can see if we look at the line from his bow shoulder to his hand, and then from his string shoulder to his string side elbow, and then the linkage between them, which would be the linkage between his shoulders. It's almost like a little plateau. You see, as soon as he gets to full draw and he's bearing the whole weight of that bow, you'll see his shoulder line go whoop, just up, like it rises up just slightly as he's fighting the weight
Yep,
of that
front.
bow. Yeah,
Yep,
it's front and back right here, and
and
then
the clutch will be in
that
that.
whole thing just goes. I mean, right as he's in execution, right before the shot breaks, he's giving up a little tension in that system up through his shoulders a little bit,
Right.
and it's so minor.
It's an improvement he needs. He's probably pretty accurate.
Oh
He
yeah,
looks like he's developing accuracy, but that's not a long term plan. He's got to get that dialed in, and it's just technique. So we can
yep,
lock that down with technique based form of pre-coil, this pressing the shoulder down and at the target as we turn sideways. It's going to engage the right muscles to keep that shoulder down.
love it.
You with me? At
I
the
am with you,
elite,
buddy.
they actually do it down here, and then they raise the bow straight up like this, be on the line, and then they coil on the way. So they already have their shoulder
Right.
alignment to draw. That's in solid archery mechanics. We don't need that because we have low brace height hunting weight bows. We can come up here, preset it, and just come right in to that movement with that coil and driving the shoulder back at the same time to produce a good holding position for our trad
Yeah,
guys.
I love it.
With me,
Yeah.
brother?
I'm with you. Yeah, and I apologize to you, Tom, or the people viewing this. I promise I'm paying attention. I'm just on my other window. I'm getting the next videos queued up and ready to rock. So I just want to make sure this is pretty seamless. All right. So
So he's also got a when his when he shoots, um, the bow collapses inward. It doesn't expand outward. So when you see his shot break, or am I on the right guy? I got notes here. An anchor comes to straight wrist. Yeah, he comes to a pretty straight wrist, slashing elbow. Improvements. Yep. Watch when he breaks, the bow will break
yeah,
towards.
that's what I was mentioning, where his shoulder line kind of rises up a little bit. It's like that he's
That.
during execution. There's just the whole thing breaks inward, and that I dealt with that for years. Oh my God, did I deal with that for years? And I'm just getting over that right now with what we'll talk about later when we're talking about the trigger press and that feedback loop on your fingers and stuff. I think it's like, honestly, it's one of the most important feedback loops that you can have in an archery shot.
Yeah. So what I want to do is suggest an improvement for Hunter that he do something we call balancing your tension. Okay. So what I want him to do is press this to the target, and we can. It feels like pushing. Matt, I know we're not pushing.
Matiaka.
Yak, I know we're not pushing. It's tricep engagement
I love it.
right here, and so it's the feeling of pressing this to the target in equal measure to pressing back tension. And so the result we should get out of a break, let's see which way I got to go.
Yeah.
I got to go this way. Typically, we should see as this, we get glenoidal humor rotation. At the break of the shot, the inertia will take this humerus in a rotating manner right around your body. Well, we're also at scapular engagement on this side. And so when that shot breaks, this a little humeral rotation away from the target like that is very normal. You'll see people with really good balance tension because they've got a good tricep engagement here, balance to here. You'll see it more look like that. That shot will break much more to the target. or an outward break is fine, either one, because it's just your body that final, because the scapular is engaged, which
Yep.
drives this rotation initially. So when we're here and here, we have both scapulars at full retraction, but we do have available glenohumeral rotation. So that's all you're seeing when the shot breaks. The arrow's 10 feet off the bow
Yep.
by the time this hand breaks left for a right-handed archer.
Yeah, we just don't want it. We just don't want
It breaks
any breaking like this, right?
right.
Like coming in
Right.
or up or down or this way in.
So a collapsing shot, a shot that's not pulled through the string, will create a right side
Mm-hmm.
miss, right? So any loss in tension here will create a cave in here towards the target. But then as you pull through, you'd probably see it this breakout. So I don't know what his target looks like. If he's hitting center, it could be just a result of no pressure to the target,
Mm.
very imbalanced to the rear side. So without further information, that's about all I can say about that. So I'd like to see him balance and really pressing that shoulder low and to the target equally to this back tension that he's running pretty damn well. I can't see if he's coiled all the way to the inner range of movement
Mm.
from the views I have, because
And,
that
and
can leave
just
your
and just based off of his shoulder that we talked about, his bow shoulder at the front end, we can assume that there isn't that like last 5-10% of coiling in
right.
towards the
It
target. Yeah.
makes that stronger. So being off alignment here and not here can cause that over driving your alignment can cause that shoulder to come up too,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll deal with later with Lance. That
Sweet.
will probably go to solid archery mechanics, but Hunter was a good one to start with for this podcast. There was more to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But he's done a good job of learning what he's learned. Let me review my notes real quick here, Matthew. Yeah, when you're not getting in a transfer hole, you're leaving powder out of the gun.
Mm-hmm.
We need ends or ranges of movement because there's potential there for softer or weaker shots too.
Sure.
When you go into full transfer to hold and you're pressing on that inner range of movement through the string, that's a very consistent shot, very consistent arrow speed. Uh, balance tension, shoulder alignment, can't see. Oh, there's two more things. He looks like the heel side of his hands on the bow. You want to go back to where we can see his grip?
Okay. All right. Hold on.
All right, this
I got the next video queued up. Let me just pop this
is
open
going to
real
be
quick.
the longest review.
Okay.
There's two more issues that I want to talk about with Hunter
All
because
right.
I think there's the most to learn here. Because he's like a lot of people, he's like high intermediate. He's missing some important components. I can't see the grip on that. We'll get to a view yet, kind of speed through it where we can see his grip on the
Oh yeah,
bow.
right there.
He's got his heel partly on the grip.
Yep.
And so there's a view, I think, where you see his knuckles pretty vertical. And so
And it might be. It's gonna be this last one right here.
yeah. And he looks like got a pretty good squeeze on that bow, too.
Yeah.
So if he's inducing torque because he's grabbing the heck out of the bow, that could be part of what's causing that to dive in, too. It's just tweaking
Mm.
in response to whatever pressure that's off sign, whatever torque
Sure.
he's got now. And that grip needs to be on the thumb pad, and it needs to line up right with this line here. And for that line to be vertical, you got to have your knuckles out here at a 45 because when you press this up, that line's vertical.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to set right against that line. We don't want to have it past. We don't want to have it shy. We need it right lined up with that line and then put a finger or two on the bow and just set it down there so the bow doesn't jump out of your hand. He's grabbing that bow and
Mm-hmm.
he's crossing the line. And Matt, you and I went over this. That can cause a serious injury to your elbow.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But that is the source of my tendonitis issue that put me out of archery earlier this year for quite a few weeks. And you spotted it, corrected it immediately at ETAR, and it was like pain free. So we'll dive in deeper on that later.
On the very next shot. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool.
it was cool.
Lastly, Hunter's got a pretty dang low anchor, which makes me suspect he's an instinctive aimer.
Okay.
You want to look at
Yep.
so he's more like here. See how low that anchor is?
Mm-hmm.
That arrow's a long way below his eye. which is going to exclude the arrow tip being in his sight picture when he's aiming. So I suspect he's an instinctive aimer. And I know, because I was gifted and born lucky enough to be born with the ability to be a good instinctive aimer, I know that instinctive aims can be really accurate. It takes a giant amount of practice to be accomplished at that at varying ranges. It's not durable. If you put the bow down for a while or shoot at one distance indoors for the winter, you're going to be all blown up come fall or come spring when you want to start shooting outdoors. I would really highly recommend that Hunter learn an aiming method. Hunter, if you're a great instinctive aimer, awesome, good for you. But put the tool in your tool belt to be able to use the arrow tip to set your height. So that will only occur if you go to a higher anchor. So this top bone on your hook, this top one right here, needs to be, that bone needs to be touching that bone. So I would shelf it up against your cheekbone and get that anchor higher, which is going to put the arrow point up in your vision somewhere where you can use it, or at least develop a point on range using the arrow tip. So call me at Rocky Mountain Special Gears and I'll go over this in bigger detail. Or a lot of this stuff is on your videos, Matt, aiming methods. A lot of stuff's on solid archery mechanics. Usually the thing that keeps people from doing it is when they get a real precise aim like that, they don't separate from the aim. They try to catch the aim, and then their whole mental management blows up. And they say, "Oh, it didn't work for me. I can't aim with the arrow tip," and they give up. But yeah, once you learn to manage that mentally and separate from the aim into the consciousness of the finish, you can use a very precise aim really well. That's the last recommendation that I would have for Hunter, is develop the ability to have a very precise shot with setting the height with the arrow tip. It might be it's going to be somewhere below that target. So you just find the height you need to put the arrow tip, and then you just treat it just like your instinctive aim. Just look right in the spot you want to hit and finish your shot. And it'll feel cozy. If you just look at it that way, it'll feel just like an instinctive aim, because you are going to be looking at the spot you want to hit. Okay, that wraps it up for Hunter. That was a good one.
That was a good one. I think a lot of people are going to be able to pull some nuggets out of that one. And then similarly to that, we have another great one here that I think this is going to be applicable to a lot of clicker shooters. So Jonathan Phillips, Bo and me on Instagram. A little bit of audio with this one.
Yeah.
You can hear that
I'm
click.
super glad. Jonathan is an excellent shooter. I can tell that right now.
God, you hear something I love. Look at the bow jump. The bow jump is awesome.
He has so much good stuff going on in his shot. He's an excellent shooter. Undoubtedly an absolutely excellent shooter.
I'm going to turn off the audio just so we can talk a little bit.
Okay, so in that slow motion video, you will see the bow break to the right. He's a lefty, like I was talking about, a correct break. Right off the break, the hand does go to the right. Watch this, right at the break.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
And then it falls down to the right.
Yep.
Or to the left, I mean.
To the left, yep.
It does break right as his expansion is occurring, because he's at scapular retraction. This side, he has a little glenohumeral rotation to the right as a lefty, I should say. So that is proper. And he's got a good stance, good alignment, especially with a clicker. This is a good shoot. Not a high wrist, which I hate, but he's probably strong enough to make it work. Some guys are.
High wrist on their bow side.
On the grip, he keeps his wrist like this.
Yep.
Opposed to like this. Whoop, let me get it in the view. He's like this as opposed to this, it looks like to me. And some guys are strong enough to maintain that position with heavy bows, and unless I got it wrong, because my view isn't.
No, accurate. It does. It looks like he's pretty high.
Okay, but whatever wrist you have on the bow, if you'll just let that relax here and just let it come to the end, it reduces a ton of muscular tension that's required to hold it like this.
Yep.
The whole target world, the mid 70s, went to this, and all the bows were built with super high wrists, and it lasted for 1 year. Because, fatigue rocks in, and then this varying tension here changes the spot. It makes complete sense. It minimizes the contact point with the bow. It increases your draw length by 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch. So your tiller is exactly the same every time on that reduced contact point. It's really great. And you got a little more juice out of the bow, but it requires a ton of muscular tension. Whereas if we just let that sit back there and do the same thing he's doing now, that bow will jump right to the target just like it does now. He's a good shooter.
Yeah. And you know it's
One,
interesting, like I've slowly went from, you could see back here behind me, like this Black Widow that's behind me, how low of a grip I shaved into this grip. And I kind of wish I didn't, because this was right before I got the bow in hand, I think right before Lancaster, and then I went to Lancaster running my ultra low grips like I have been for 7 or 8 years on my competition bows. And then I, was really self-analytical on my shot coming out of Lancaster. I did a whole lot of filming. There's a great video called the Lancaster Classic Experience, where it's multiple hours long of just like great shooters ripping awesome shots. And I'm noticing that like every single person there is running a medium grip essentially, or medium to high. Like the low grips, there wasn't a lot of top shooters running like ultra low grips. So, that obviously signaled off in my brain like, maybe I should explore this. So I've since moved over to the Jaeger JD3 grips on all my barebow rigs and on my Satori. And it's amazing how the extremes, the super low risk grip and then the super high risk grip, how they create more liabilities than benefits.
yeah, super low. It's really easy to put a little tension to your hand and change the whole tailor of the bow.
Oh, big time.
You know where the pressure's at.
Yep.
Super high, same thing. Somewhere in that medium grip, you're finding is much more consistent
It's
for
just
you.
like everything, right?
Majority of target archers shoot that. Yeah.
Yep.
So I like a low medium for me. Um, I don't longbows I shoot fine. I can just let that relax. But so many of us can't let that just relax and get a consistent pressure point.
Yep.
Because if you add any muscular tension towards the target, you're going to change things, and it's going
For
to
sure.
show up on a bare bow shot for sure. It's going to be a point or two. It's going to be a line or two.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, anyway, the big thing to learn from Jonathan's shot, and Jonathan, this is what happened to you, is you can tell you understand a great shot completely.
Can I interject something real quick? I like the coil of his shot, and you can see the coil of his shot after the shot breaks. So watch when he relaxes. Watch how his whole body faces the target. So you can see as he's in a pre-draw or at full draw, he's in line with the target. And as soon as the shot breaks, it goes like he relaxes. And you can see the coil of that, see how he like coils to the target. So I think we can't see his feet position, but I think there's a huge coil that he might not be locking his hips and coiling in the midsection as much, because when that shot breaks, like his feet don't move. And look how much he rotates, like his whole body uncoils right here.
Yeah.
Hang on, it might.
Or maybe his front foot is too far back.
Yep. See how his shoulders coil back towards the target right here.
He might be too open with his feet.
He might be too open with his feet, and that whole angle is rotating up through his legs and his torso rather than being just to his torso. So if this view was a little bit more blown out, we might have a little bit more things to say about the foundation here.
He might not really be able to rotate in his line of shoulders for front hand. That looks pretty good right there, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to tell. A straight downward view would be awesome on John.
What else on him?
Okay, so this is something that Matt and I talked about 2 years ago when clickers were really being heavily used. There was just this big incident Matt was learning with guys with shoulder problems. I said, here's the problem when people are learning to use a clicker. So let's say that he's a well-educated shooter, knows how to get into his back. He's producing back tension to the shot, which is creating this perfect follow-through, right? But he's starting to use a clicker now, all right? And so when you're using a clicker, you can't go into transfer to hold and full alignment because there's not much movement, virtually no movement left in your position to get string movement through a click, right? At the elite level, these guys can build this position and get to within a millimeter of an arrow coming through their clicker.
Yeah, and so for an Olympic archer, right? They're drawing back the bow, and this little piece of spring steel's on the other side of their arrow, and my face is the riser, right? And it comes all the way, and they can see it the whole way there, and then this is transfer to hold. and then they
Right,
execute, and then the clicker falls, and it goes click, pop,
right.
boom. And you
So
can't do that with
true.
a string clicker. It's just
uh,
too much variability in the whole system because like a difference in 5-10% finger tension on the string changes how that limb reacts. Like there's just not enough precision in a string limb mounted clicker.
right. And those guys have true expansion. They're driving this tension in the back. These tissues in the front are lengthening, which is moving it just enough to come that millimeter for that to click and the shot to break, right?
Mm-hmm.
So us less than Jake Kaminsky world level shooters using a limb mounted clicker, we have to leave some movement in there to still produce back tension to a proper follow through and keep your shoulder healthy and get through the clicker. So my recommendation in a solid course and everyday life coaching people is to build your holding position with your full coil into your full shoulder to shoulder hand alignment, right? And then come into a full anchor. And just that last movement to build your holding position is transfer to hold. Put that click inside of the transfer to hold movements. So you come into anchor, and maybe you want it right in front of that movement to start with. Anyway, so as you're this transfer to hold movement is like pressing your shoulder back, is getting that last little bit of retraction of your scapula. So you're in here and you're pressing through that. Put that click right after that. As you're in normal shot without a clicker, you just go transfer to hold. Put it inside this little movement right here,
Mm-hmm.
maybe about halfway through, so you got some room to come into holding without pre-clicking it. So you come into holding, you can just engage your back muscles, and then you're pressing everything this way, right? And access that clicker with that back tension movement. The thing will go off, and you'll get a normal follow through, and you'll get that normal glenohumeral rotation that stays underneath the acromial space, and it's a clean shot. Now, that is the way to execute that shot. But if we're shooting a clicker and we're having a hell of a time getting to the click, we have something called neuroplasticity. The brain is capable and does this all the time for us. It splits neural outflow to all kinds of different muscle groups to help us lift a heavy weight or do a physical task easier. It splits neural outflow to multiple muscle groups to accomplish a task. In archery, we're in a precision environment. We want pretty dang isolated engagement of some muscles to produce repeatability and precision, right? So here's our precision movement. It's that transfer hold movement. It hits the click, the subconscious release happens, the follow through happens. But we get a little tired driving this tension, or we're having a hard time timing that click to get to the dang click. And what's the brain do? Brain says, I got you, buddy. And it shoots some neural outflow up into that shoulder. And then we get some movement that way, that way. This can't be reversed. The intuitive way, away from the arrow, it'll add this movement as opposed to simply this movement. And then that's the movement you're getting through the clicker to, is pressing that way. And that's going to lead into a movement that can hurt your shoulder. There's an end of range of movement when we go that way, and it's right there. And what happens is that follow through slams into that end of range of movement. And what's happening when that happens is your scapula is tipping back up. It's tipping back up. The acromion process is sticking out over the top of the head of the humerus. As that scapula tips, it tips that acromion process right down and crushes that subacromial space. Well, there's nerves and there's tissues and nerves and tendons that run through that space, and you're going to get an awful sore shoulder at first. So some people are really tough and they get that discomfort and they keep shooting. Well, that soreness is inflammation, but you're tough and you keep shooting, and then you get chronic inflammation. And I don't know how long the process takes, but then your body will develop a bone spur in there, and then that bone spur is going to lacerate one of those tendons. So when I was in Chula Vista, they would call this out, and they showed us surgical pictures of the inflamed tissue in that space and stuff. And what it does, and it's usually the tendon lacerate is commonly the supraspinatus. This is per Coach Lee at the Olympic Training Center. because in the old days it was called power archery. It was push, pull. And so they virtually all did this thing that slammed into that end of range of movement. And so very few old guys were still shooting. But that's what Jonathan is facing potentially for him. Now, there's some people that get away with that for a long, long time because they have the space there. You know, that space is big, or the musculature is supporting that whole rotator cuff so well. They can get away with that for a while, but something's going to change. It could be an other injury with inactivity, and you get a little atrophy, and all of a sudden everything isn't so held together. Could be age, where you're not going to maintain the muscle tone you used to. But for most people, that release will cause problems within. Honestly, it can happen within a day.
Yeah, I mean, you could see his shoulder slamming in this view. It just like bang.
Jonathan, this sore here, this is the source of your problem. And this is a big warning. Remember, were you at the immersion clinic Joel and I did in Texas? There was a young man there, built like that, super fit guy. He said, I just came to watch. I've been shooting my bow with this clicker, and my shoulder's so sore I can't shoot. And I decided I'm just going to watch. You know, he paid all the money to come to the immersion clinic. Well, let's see what's going on. And he goes, it's going to hurt. And I said, just shoot a shot with a stretch band. So he picked up a stretch band. I don't even know if I got one handy. I should. But anyway, he shoots a stretch band, and boom, and he goes, ow. I'm like, okay, dude, I know your problem. So we taught him back 10, and we start off with the exercise, get him moving this way instead of that way. And the first time that we had him, we kind of went really slow and taught this, and I had him execute this release, and he goes, oh, that didn't hurt. Cool.
Yeah.
Anybody got a bow? Somebody had a 20-pound, their wife's bow, just to drill on. Hey, give me that light bow. Have him shoot that 20-pounder. Boom. Ah, awesome. It doesn't hurt. Who's the next lightest bow here? I got a 35-pounder. There, boom. Ah. And we walked right up through everybody's bows right to his weight. Took the dang clicker off because we didn't set up the clicker for this. We just taught him, shoot kind of triggerless and just expand through the shot like this. He's shooting his own bow with no pain.
Yep,
he
immediately
came there with a shoulder, expecting not to shoot at all. And within an hour, we had him shooting his own bow with no pain. He shot hundreds of arrows throughout the rest of the clinic. It was awesome.
That's amazing. I love it.
He's just impinging the heck out of his shoulder. So anyway, Jonathan, I love your shot. I can see you're a tremendous archer. That shoulder pull is what we term it. Causes this stop and this hand to fly out. Once you put that move, that click inside a transfer to hold movement, then what you're going to get when transfer to hold sets the direction to a perfect follow through. This movement is the direction to a perfect follow through. So what you're going to see, instead of this thing that hand flies out, what you're going to see is when that clicks on this movement, it's going to break, and you're going to have that beautiful rotation, that beautiful follow through, that linear hand. So that's what I got. Another great one to have on the podcast version, Matt.
I agree completely. I think that's going to save a lot of people's shoulders.
Yeah, I want it out there. And so that's what I got. I'd be curious to talk to Jonathan, see if his shoulder's ever been sore,
sure,
and just get some feedback like that. But I love his shooting overall. I just love his shot. I don't recommend that high risk. I recommend go ahead and setting it down. But he may be strong enough to carry that off. I had my best buddy work construction, and he shot an old ASL type longbow with that wrist because he's so flippant strong. I don't know. I pull his bow. I couldn't even hold it up there, And he did that back in the day. I didn't know anything then, but
that's wild.
There's guys that can do it and get away with it, but it'd probably be more consistent and stable if you just get rid of that muscular tension and let it sit down. But if you can do it, do it. I don't want to fix what ain't broke. So Beautiful shooter. Just needs to get back into back tension.
Love it.
And stay away from shoulder impingement.
Cool. Well, I love it, man. So this is kind of going to wrap up the podcast side of this thing, wrap up the YouTube videocast side that's on the Push Archery YouTube channel. So if you guys have been listening to this in your earbuds or on your drive, you can tell we're doing a video version. So Tom's doing a lot of shadow movements. He's using lightweight bows. I really urge you guys to head on over to the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out this video. It's a whole lot more interactive. We're sharing our screens. We're seeing these videos of these video submissions. We have 5 more video submissions that we're going to go through right now, which are really good. These archers are top tier archers. We're going to be picking away at the nuances of their shot. Again, if you want to view this content and this additional discussion that we're about to have, we're also going to be talking about my shot progression and what I believe personally is one of the most important feedback loops in an archery shot, which is the pressure increase on your string fingers. We're going to really nerd out about that here later on in the show. If you guys want to see this content, head on over to thepusharchery.com and enroll in Solid Archery Mechanics. One-time purchase, lifetime access, all future updates to the course content, like what we're about to record for free, added to your profile the minute the new modules go live. Tom, thanks for being here with me, buddy.
My pleasure, buddy.
All right, I'm going to play a quick outro ad for Solid Archery Mechanics, guys. Can't wait to see you on the new student list. Join our class. Tons of awesome forums with direct access to the man himself, Tom CLUM Sr. He responds to every comment that happens inside these private forums. So tons of value. So appreciate it, Tom. Thanks, buddy.
Bet.
right, we are back. Now we are into behind the paywall, Solid Archery Mechanics students only. Tom, let's take a minute and thank each and every one of these students for being here with us and investing in this amazing course. What do you have to say to these guys?
Say thank you very much. It really helps Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear stay alive and the push, obviously. So thank you from the bottom of our heart. We dearly appreciate it. I dearly want to be there for you for the rest of my life and help you in any way I can.
Love it. And we can see it too, Tom. I mean, how amazing are we seeing? We go to these events like ETAR that was we discussed beforehand. I mean, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we were going to ETAR. This is right whenever Tom CLUM was, rising of the ranks and becoming very popular in the traditional community as being one of the leading subject matter experts. But the gospel hasn't been promoted, right? This was before Coaching Moments episodes on the podcast, before Solid went live. We were still attending these shows, and what an improvement over the last 5 or 6 years. Unbelievable. Yeah. It's night and day.
Night and day. I'm proud to say that I've been part of the people putting the information out there, that we've moved the needle nationally. It's 100%. So awesome to see. And people are consuming this content, and I'm blown away at how good they do without hands-on coaching, just the information we're able to give to them.
Absolutely.
It's really, really satisfying as an old guy to see. I'll kind of, when I'm all said and done, I'm kind of satisfied that I was able to help a little bit, and along with you and obviously others and Joel. And
absolutely.
So it's been really neat to see. Love it.
Yeah.
I didn't have that when I was young. I would have died for this information.
Oh my gosh. I can imagine.
Things that we need to put it out.
Yeah. And I mean, the whole nexus of the push in general was because I missed 11 deer before I shot and killed my 12th. Like there had to be a better way to learn these beautiful weapons. And that's whenever we just our mission was to go and find these subject matter experts. We knew these guys like you had to be out there, and